episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at Agilent, a Fortune 500 company known for providing top-notch testing solutions to cannabis and hemp testing labs worldwide. Are you considering testing your cannabis in-house for potency? Agilent is giving away a free 1260 HPLC system for 1 year. If you're a cultivator, processor, or cannabis testing lab, you may qualify for this giveaway. By using Agilent's 1260 HPLC system for potency testing, you will gain immediate access to your data, know exactly when to harvest, and increase your sample throughput. Don't miss out on Agilent's 1260 HPLC system giveaway, which does end this month in just a couple of days. Swing over to bit.ly.com/cannabis-contest to answer a few quick questions to enter to win. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Wednesday, April 28th, 2021, and you're tuned in to episode 1052 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. We start off the day in Louisiana, where lawmakers in the state House Administration of Criminal Justice Committee voted yesterday 7-5 in favor of a bill to legalize adult-use marijuana. The bill accompanied a separate decriminalization bill that was also advanced out of the same committee on a 6-5 vote, with both bills now being set to be considered by the full House. If made into law, the legalization bill would set up a taxed and regulated sales program with home grow and legal possession of up to 2.5 pounds, which isn't quite New York State's 5 pounds, but is still on the larger side of the spectrum, state-wise speaking. There are also more cannabis bills up on the Louisiana State Legislative schedule for this week, including another legalization bill up before the Agriculture Committee tomorrow. Kyle Yeager has a good one with all the things on this one over at Marijuana Moment, so I would head that way if you want to dive in. We have another big legislative move towards progressive cannabis policy, taking headline number 2 today, with a bill to legalize adult-use cannabis being passed yesterday by the Montana State House on a vote of 67-32, just a day after it was rejected by that same legislative body on its second reading. Thankfully, yesterday's reading of the adult-use legalization bill will carry the day, with the legislation now on its way to the desk of Republican Governor Greg Gianforte, who should always be remembered as the violent thug who once physically attacked and assaulted a member of the media because he's a giant asshole with poor impulse control. The legislation, House Bill 701, has gone through a number of big changes during its passage through the Montana House and Senate, but was most recently amended to hew fairly closely to the adult use legalization ballot measure passed by voters in the fall. Pennsylvania takes our final top story with numbers from Industry Data Watcher Headset showing the Keystone State generating just over $900 million in sales between April of last year and March of this year. Medical marijuana receipts grew 120% annually from the first quarter of last year to this year, rising to $267.8 million. That's more than enough to put Pennsylvania on track to easily clear $1 billion in sales this year, even if no growth at all in the market comes about, which is not likely to happen. One of the more interesting data points on Headset's analysis is the industry-leading size of the $123 and change sales average for customer purchases. That's twice as high as Michigan's average sales total and 1.5 times higher than Oregon. For a bit of context. Another good one to read in full today, especially if you have Pennsylvania on your industry radar. Those are the top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Agilent, a Fortune 500 company known for providing top-notch testing solutions to cannabis and hemp testing labs worldwide. As I mentioned at the top of the show, Agilent is giving away a free 1260 HPLC system for 1 year. If you've been considering testing your cannabis in-house for potency, then you need to listen up. Swing over to bit.ly.com/cannabis-contest to enter for your chance to win. When you use Agilent's 1260 HPLC system, you get instant access to all the right data about your cannabis, which narrows down exactly when you should harvest. That means you don't spend a minute more growing your flower than you need to, and that you'll harvest your crop at its peak. One more time, swing over to bit.ly.com/cannabis-contest to enter your company in for a chance to win 1 free year's use of Agilent's 1260 HPLC system. But make sure to hurry because Agilent's contest closes out in just a few days. Big thanks to everyone at Agilent for the support that helps us keep the news lights on. All right, time for the Blitz. To Minnesota, where a bill to legalize adult-use marijuana has been approved by its 9th committee, advancing yesterday on a 11-7 vote out of the Public Safety and Criminal Justice Reform Finance and Policy Committee. The bill, House File 600, if made into law, would create a taxed and regulated cannabis sales program with home grow and significant social equity provisions. As Kyle Yeager has it in his story on this one, though, the bill does face a GOP-controlled Senate that has signaled no interest in passing progressive cannabis policy reform, so we'll have to watch and wait to see how this one plays out. Yesterday in Texas, the bill to reduce the criminal penalties for having marijuana concentrates was passed by the House of Representatives, while another bill calling for the study of the use of therapeutic psychedelics for veterans was advanced out of committee. The concentrates bill has one more reading to go in the House before heading over to the Senate, though that third reading could happen today. As Kyle Yeager again is reporting, those two bills are just the tip of the spear in terms of proposed drug policy reform bills in the works in Texas, so another good one to open up for the full scope of all of that. Canadian retailer Fire & Flower is reporting its Q4 and full year 2020 results for the period ending January 31st. For the fourth quarter, Fire & Flower pulled in total revenue of $43.2 million, up 30.5% sequentially. That rolled out to a positive adjusted EBITDA for the quarter of $1.5 million, an improvement over the negative $1.2 million in the previous quarter. For the full year of 2020, the company generated total revenue of $128 million, up 150% from 2019, and a positive adjusted EBITDA of $20,000. Canadian LP, the Valens company, is buying up Florida-based CBD manufacturer Green Roads, a leading provider of CBD products with distribution in more than 7,000 retail stores. The deal is potentially worth $60 million, with a split of $40 million in cash now, with $20 million in incentives for hitting certain financial goals. The deal is significant for its size, but also for being the first foray for Valens into the U.S. market. Green Entrepreneur has a fun update on a storyline we covered here on The Daily, with Colorado state transportation officials auctioning off certain marijuana-related vanity plates with the proceeds set to go to charity. The bidding window for the plates, which include gems like bong, ganja, hash, and got wax, closed on April 20th. The leading plate was Is It 420, which garnered a bid of $6,630. The license plate Tegrity, referring to a fictitious marijuana farm on the show South Park, was in second place with just under $5,000. New York lawmakers will soon take up proposed legislation to create a recycling program for legal cannabis packaging. Assemblywoman Patricia Fahey's bill would require retailers to collect deposits on cannabis packaging, much in the way it does for glass bottles. In this case, mandating that cannabis retailers tack on an extra $1 for each plastic package, which would then be paid back to consumers when they turn the packaging back into the retailer. That is a great idea and something we need to see everywhere. We end today on a fun note with actor, producer, potter, and cannabis fan Seth Rogen presenting a public service announcement video his company Houseplant produced, talking to people about some of the things they need to know about cannabis, like what to do if they consume too much. The first bit, just shared by Rogen on Twitter, is done up in a campy old-school PSA style and is just packed with fun fact. Open this one up and give it a watch. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our website at mgatodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Agilent, and two of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mgatodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today.
One take, Shay. One take.